In the early 1900s, thousands were committed to asylums, and many were never seen again. One name remains unfinished in the archives. No death record, no discharge, no explanation. Elmer Crawford entered the system, and then he vanished inside it. No witnesses, no gravesite, no official ending. Was he forgotten or erased? Some disappearances leave no crime scene, only paperwork that stops mid-sentence. Institutions are designed to record everything: admissions, treatments, transfers, deaths. They are built on documentation because memory is considered unreliable. And yet, in the archives of one long-abandoned asylum, there's a file that ends abruptly. No discharge, no death certificate, no explanation. Only a name: Elmer Crawford. The facility that swallowed people. The asylum sat on the outskirts of a small industrial town, far from city centers and public scrutiny. Constructed in the early 20th century, it was designed to isolate not just illness, but the ill themselves. Brick corridors stretched for hundreds of meters. Wards were sealed by iron doors. Windows were narrow, reinforced, and high enough to prevent escape. Inside, time moved differently. Patients stayed for years, sometimes for life. Records were meticulous, which makes Elmer Crawford's disappearance impossible to ignore. Who was Elmer Crawford? Elmer Crawford was admitted in the late 1930s. Official notes describe him as cooperative, withdrawn, and suffering from recurring auditory hallucinations. He was not violent. He was not considered a flight risk. He worked in the laundry and assisted in the hospital garden. He had visitors at first, letters from a sister, a single visit from a former employer. Then the trail fades. The last documented entry. The final notation in Crawford's file is routine. Patient observed in Ward C. No abnormalities noted. No agitation. No incident report. No scheduled transfer. After that entry, there is silence. No discharge form. No burial record. No notation of death, which was required by law. He simply stops existing on paper. The night shift reports. Decades later, retired staff were interviewed when the facility closed. Some recalled the name. A night orderly remembered an incident involving a missing patient. Another recalled an unsealed maintenance tunnel beneath Ward C. A nurse described unusual staffing gaps during that period. Temporary workers, incomplete logs, administrative turnover. None could recall exactly when Crawford vanished. In institutional memory, time collapses. The archives. When historians examined the asylum's archives, they found anomalies. Patient numbers skipped, duplicated mission codes, files missing between certain years. It was not malicious erasure. It was bureaucratic decay. But Crawford's file was different. It was intact. Until it wasn't. Pages ended mid-treatment cycle. No official conclusion. No administrative closure. A human life without a recorded ending. Theories that remain. There are several possibilities. He could have died of natural causes. His paperwork misplaced. He could have been transferred. Records lost during restructuring. He could have escaped through maintenance corridors and vanished into surrounding countryside. But each theory conflicts with procedural reality. Deaths were logged. Transfers required documentation. Escapes triggered reports. For Crawford, there is nothing. The architecture of disappearance. Asylums were designed to control visibility. Patients existed behind walls, beyond the public gaze. If someone disappeared, the outside world might never notice. Inside, institutional inertia made individual absence easy to overlook. One fewer patient at breakfast. One fewer bed occupied. A name removed from rotation. The system absorbs absence. The unmarked spaces. Ground-penetrating radar surveys conducted decades after closure revealed irregularities beneath the asylum grounds. Unmarked pits, sealed utility shafts, collapsed tunnels. None were excavated fully. Officially, there is no evidence of foul play. Unofficially, the spaces remain. The psychological dimension. Mental institutions once operated with minimal oversight. Patients were legally invisible, socially erased, and administratively dependent. If a patient vanished, who would demand answers? Family ties were often severed. Public records rarely followed institutional patients. Disappearance required no conspiracy, only indifference. The final question: Elmer Crawford's disappearance is not a mystery of violence. It is a mystery of systems. He may have died unnoticed. He may have walked away unnoticed. He may have been forgotten unnoticed. Each possibility is equally disturbing, because the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. It is evidence of a world that did not look closely enough. Cold closing monologue. Narrator, quiet, controlled. The asylum is silent now. Paint peels from the walls. Records gather dust in archives few people open. Elmer Crawford remains a name without an ending. No grave, no official death, no documented departure. Just a patient who entered a system designed to contain him and left a historical record without explanation. The most unsettling part is not that he disappeared. It is that the institution continued functioning as if he never existed at all. And somewhere in the margins of institutional history, there are likely many more names just like his, files that end mid-sentence, lives that end without acknowledgement, and echoes that no one ever tried to trace. Elmer Crawford didn't just disappear. He was removed from the record of existence.